I would like to welcome you again this year for the Cybersecurity Roundtable organized by the partnership of companies and organizations which are sitting on the table. I will introduce in a second. Just to frame the roundtable, WISeKey has been since 2011 very much involved with the World Economic Forums on all the subjects related to cybersecurity. Not only we are one of the global growth company of the World Economic Forum nominated in Dalian in China, but in plus of that we are members of several of the council, which basically works together with the WEF in developing the agenda on cybersecurity. Not only on cybersecurity, as we also work on what we call the future of technology and the future of the internet. In 2011, cybersecurity was selected as one of the 4 risks of the World Economic Forum predictions. This has been turned a reality. Cybersecurity now is a major issue. The roundtable that we organized in this year expands from last year's roundtable, where we look into specific issues related to identity management, and we have the presence of the commissioner from the European Union at that time, where she expressed the strong willingness of the European Union to move towards a strong authentication. The objective of this roundtable has threefold. One is to inform you about the situation on the sector. Another one is to give you some feedback from experts on what they are doing in their own respective activities. And the third one is to project the year ahead, as 2015 is going to be a very heavy year what concerns cybersecurity. So we will cover sort of the imminent risks that we are all facing and how can we mitigate them. So first of all, I would like to thank everybody for coming today. I know the agendas in Davos are always very busy and breakfast starts very early, so I really appreciate your presence here. Also the presence of the speakers. And without more, I would like maybe to just let them to introduce themselves, so you have an idea of their background, and then we start immediately after the roundtable. So I start with David.
Good morning, my name is David Ferguson. I'm the President and Co-CEO of the M&A Advisor. The M&A Advisor is an organization headquartered in New York and London that acts as a quasi-think tank for mergers and acquisitions, and my purpose for being here is not as an expert in cybersecurity, but as an analyst of an industry that's drawing a tremendous amount of attention and in which we believe that investment going forward will have a dramatic effect on the industry sector.
Yes, good morning everyone. Thomas Anderson. I'm a professor of economics and currently based in the Middle East, advising some governments in that region. In this context here, I'm chairman of ICAD. It's a think tank in Sweden, which is one of 8 partners in the so-called GINI project, and that stands for Global Individual Networking. It's an activity that has been a support action with the European Commission, but it's currently in a stage of implementation, and it will connect here to the output of it, hopefully, of this session. Thanks.
Good morning everyone, I'm Jean-Manuel Rosan. I'm one of 3 founders of a global search engine that we started in France called Qwant. I think we'll have time to discuss more. We think that in that area of search there is a need for choice for people, choice for companies, choice for governments, and also we think that we can do all of that with respecting the privacy of our users, so we don't try to...
My name is Radu Bugrescu-Zeretin. I am with Fraunhofer Fokus and TU Berlin. And in the field of identities, where we were very much involved in the introduction of EID in Germany. EID in Germany is not only the EID for the person, but also EID for internet. And we developed actually quite an interesting cluster. The cluster of which is called New Generation ID in Berlin, together with the universities and the different manufacturers from Daimler to Bundesdruckerei, trying to understand the Internet of Things and the necessity of introducing ID in this space.
So Thank you very much. So words from myself. My name is Carlos Mera. I'm the founder of WISeKey. WISeKey is a cybersecurity company here in Switzerland. My previous capacity was as a Chief Security Officer of the United Nations in Geneva for 15 years. So I have been very much involved from the beginning of the World Wide Web in everything which concerns cybersecurity, as we have to first secure governments and then we started to secure clients. The subject of cybersecurity has become a major subject, not only from the perspective of the business itself. It's a $180 billion business now, cybersecurity. It's a sector that's very much concentrated in the United States. The original cybersecurity companies like RSA, Symantec, Entrust, they are mainly US corporations. Europe has been very slow on cybersecurity and I will say on internet altogether. Very happy to have with us Qwant here, because Qwant is an excellent example on how European innovation in search, for instance, can become as good as any other. So the challenge is how a market which is $180 billion market, a market on which some of the countries in the world are getting organized, not only to capture the market, but also to control the market. How can we react towards that? What is the positioning of Switzerland or Europe towards that? Also the fact that cybersecurity is a lot of discussions around the web, but also in the United Nations about the future of the internet. And when one of the things people don't necessarily realize is that the cybersecurity element is the one that will determine the future of the internet, because we're moving towards a situation where the internet is becoming a platform, and either you are in or you are out. And although we believe that the internet is global, at the end of the day it's not. I was yesterday in a panel here with some experts talking about the dark net, the net that we don't know about it, this net that has more people already than the official internet, where banks are now losing their personal data, where the credit cards are being traded, where the drugs and drug dealers around the world are doing their business. This dark web exists and is there, and nobody's regulating that. And it is impossible for organizations such as ICANN and others to regulate that space. So we are entering into a dangerous world, because the World Wide Web, which was created in Geneva by CERN 25 years ago, was not designed to conduct the level of transactions that we are conducting now on the internet. The internet, the ARPANET, at the time when the Americans developed the ARPANET, was a military infrastructure which was reinforced by a software which was developed by the CERN, that basically provide a mechanism of interconnecting sites in a very easy way without the need to centralize any server, and being able, through that decentralization process, basically to connect as many computers as possible. But identity was not designed on that architecture, neither was designed the cybersecurity element. So I would like to just, and again, this panel the idea is that we all can engage, not only the panelists, in a Q&A. So we will go one by one, first asking some questions to the panelists, and after we'll open the floor to the participants. So my first take will be, and I will go directly to the search, and I will go directly to you, because I really believe Qwant has done something very interesting. As we did in WISeKey on identity, Qwant has done it in search. Maybe for you to explain us your roadmap from where you started, what are the obstacles, how has been the reaction from the market, and how you portray yourself as a European technology company versus the big giants in the United States.
Thank you, Carlos. So first of all, thank you for inviting us, and thank you for those kind words. I tried to give you a little bit of the path that we followed. We joined together. My background is in finance for 30 years and in investment. My two other partners have, thankfully, a background in tech. One has a B2B search engine that has already top clients in France, and the chief architect is a fellow called Eric Léandry, who has a background in security. 4 years ago, when we decided to create Qwant, we realized two things. One has become obvious, and that is that the direction that the internet was taking was far from the original and posed a series of problems. And the direction was that the search engine companies instead of keeping their path, which was to give unbiased access to all the information that's out there, had decided to create universes, and each of those universes, even if they are very interesting and very nice, have to be less than the complete universe. And as long as you take the path to create a universe, you're going to exclude content that is necessarily relevant for the users. And I'll give you a very simple example. The social networks have become a huge part, everyone knows that, of information that's available on the internet. If you decide not to index social networks because you don't want, for instance, if you're a search engine, that people go to Facebook, people go to Twitter, and if you force the users to navigate by clicking out of a site, out of one universe to go into the other, then you give them only partial information. So at Qwant we decided to break those walls, to open information, and to create one place on which you would have all information relevant to one query. We have several columns, one for news, one for web, one for social networks, and we have algorithm to index and rank the web and social network as well. And we do that, one, protecting the privacy of the users. We anonymize IP. We don't take a record of what they say. And in a nutshell, I will tell you the following: if someone comes to a search engine and says iPad, there's a very strong chance that they're interested in an iPad. And there's no reason why the search company would want to know the color of their eyes, their sexual preferences, and the history of their travel for the past 10 years. It's not useful to give them a relevant answer. So we launched in France, we launched in Germany. The Access Springer Group contacted us about 9 months ago and invested in Qwant. We now have 20%. We're going to raise more capital. We are growing, and we think that there is a need for a choice, and we're happy to offer that choice.
Thank you very much, Mike. So I think one of the key points on search is the capability of data mining personal data of users. I mean, WISeKey has been very, very focused since the beginning of our history on dissociating what we call the PII, which is the personal identifiable information. Is who you are, where you live, where your kids go to school, with name of your wife, versus what we call the attribute of the information. So Qwant doesn't disclose the PII. PII means that eventually, because in their business model, they will have to make money by selling advertising or selling some search-related activities. They will do it by providing the what you do, but not the who you are. The who you are should be always encrypted. And that's the philosophy also of WISeKey. And this is very much the difference between Europe and the United States in what concerns the internet. European companies are, maybe because we have the history of chip cards where we put an identity on crypto chips, we do have a more, I would say, longer experience on protecting personal identification. In the United States now, what happened last year with the JP Morgan losing their data, Target, Home Depot, and many others, they are realizing slowly that they have to replace passwords. Passwords is obsolete technology. It's so easy to break password. And last week, Geneva Bank has an equivalent problem. The data was totally infiltrated, and the bank was compromised because they were still using password and unsecure email. So it is essential that search companies, together with cybersecurity companies, educate the market as to say, you can still make a very big business by selling what you do, because he will need to sell what you do to advertisers without disclosing who you are. The personal identifiable information is something that belongs to the user, and nobody has the legal right to resell your PII. And this is a notion that is slowly starting to emerge. The United States is signing something they call it the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace, which is a White House recommendation that all Americans by the year 2015 and 16 will have a strong authentication. So I am very confident that once we apply strong authentication, once people start to use digital IDs, start to encrypt emails, start to anonymize in search, then you are entering into a way of using the internet that gives you the same benefits that we are having now without compromising your personal information. So maybe on that line, Professor Radu, I know I was with you in Germany, and I had the opportunity actually to have a meeting with the Chancellor and a few other technology companies. So one of the things we discussed was the Industry 4, which is an initiative by the German government to convert their manufacturing capability into technology companies. Basically, the thinking is when we went to see BMW, they said we are not a car company anymore, we are a software company making cars. So that shift on thinking, which is we need to create our own platform, because otherwise other software companies now producing cars, like in the United States, will get us the market. It's a new thinking. So maybe your experience, as you are so much involved into this and so advanced into that domain on the Internet of Things and Industry 4.
Yes, thank you. I think we are experiencing a revolution, industrial revolution nowadays. If you really consider that over 70 billion of devices are attached to Internet, and this is actually going on and on and on. Of course, actually, till now we concentrated very much on client-server model and things like that. But actually, the future will be what is called industrial Internet. There are also associations, actually, in the United States, which are named as industrial Internet. And the idea here behind it is actually to provide Internet and identification if you are in any kind of device or object. So, a car is an object, a human being is an object in this space. You have the possibility actually to put things together, try to optimize processes into industrial field. And this is actually the vision of what is called Industry 4.0. This is, the positive part of it. The negative part of it is actually that a lot of discussion in this field is really very, from my point of view, very weak in attacking the problems. If you ask people about security and trust in this type of environments, they start to tell you about what is called security by design. And if you are trying to understand what security by design is, well, it's bullshit, actually. There's nothing behind it. So that's actually the problem what we have. I don't, we had actually for years in this space CIM, which is Computer Integrated Manufacturers. What happens now is actually that these CIM were islands where physically we're actually not connected with the whole world. But what will happen now in what is called cyber physical systems, you'll be actually part of the whole world, meaning actually that the attack space is actually the world. So I'm rather interested how things will go on. And actually, the big problem is also that it's not only security from an IT point of view, but you have actually IPR problems where you are attacked from the outside. You can take actually look at it, but also physical security, meaning actually from the outside you can blow up probably whatever kind of plant wherever in the world. So if Industry 4.0 should come, if Internet of Things will come, we have a serious problem of cybersecurity and trust in this environment. Meaning what? Meaning actually that if you have different components and you try to build systems, trying actually to build systems with components coming from different manufacturers, then you have a problem because you don't know actually what kind of security damages you can have by integration process. And it's not very clear that you can, at the end of the day, provide